doing this evening? What? How's everybody doing this evening? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, good. Now I'm not so nervous. When it's quiet, you know you get nervous when you're up here. So let me introduce myself. My name is Helda Saad. I'm actually AVP, Executive Project Manager. I'm also the Director of Mortgage Lending Operations at First Independence Bank. How many people know who First Independence Bank by a raise of hand? Okay. So let me tell you guys a little bit about First Independence Bank. First Independence Bank is actually a minority-owned depository institution. It is an African-American-owned bank. Can I take this off? Sure. Thanks. That makes life so much easier. So First Independence Bank actually is a depository, it's a minority-owned depository institution, and it is African-American-owned. We opened our doors out of the positive outcome of the Detroit riots in 1970. As a matter of fact, we actually have been open, we just opened our doors in Minnesota, that's the second state we've opened in, and it's a positive outcome of the George Floyd's killing. So we have been in 53 years, I believe, 54 years, we're going on 54 years. We are headquartered in the city of Detroit, and we have 2 locations in Michigan, and we have 2 locations in Minnesota. We just opened 2 locations in Minnesota. However, we have a wide range of ATM access. We are in partnership with a lot of the big banks, so we have access to 55,000 ATMs. One of the largest networks of ATMs, just so you guys know who First Independence Bank is. What I do at First Independence Bank is I do a little bit of everything. I call myself the guy who knows a little about everything. I do D of all of the above. I do everything the C's can't do. And who are the C's? The Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Operating Officer. All of those individuals, whatever they have their set jobs, everything else falls on top of my plate that they usually don't do. That's what I do at the bank. I do a lot of financial education, a lot of financial literacy, a lot of financial I've done a lot of mortgage education. I do, as the head of the mortgage department, I have initiated programs for the city of Detroit for minorities as well too, and I'll talk about that a little later. So my job is not to just help financial education and financial empowerment, but I'm also responsible for creating programs, like I mentioned, to elevate and help people succeed in that space. Let's talk about debt management. How many people know what debt management is? And I'm gonna go down a little bit if you guys don't mind. Is it okay if I go down? Okay. So how many people know about debt management? Okay. What do you think the definition of debt management is?
To me, debt management is just having a conscious attitude about your finances and being able to cope with any difficulties, surprises, or anything that may be untold when it comes to money.
That's perfect, actually. So yes, that is what debt management is. It is a part of it, actually, but it is actually almost 75% of it, just so you know. Debt management, the definition, if you look up the definition of debt management is a way to get your debt under control through financial planning and budgeting. The goal of a debt management plan is to use these strategies to help you lower your current debt and move towards eliminating it. Yeah, so you were pretty close. You were pretty close. It has a lot to do with budgeting. How many of you guys have a savings plan? Show of hands.
A plan?
Yeah.
Or an account?
No, savings plan. Okay, so let me rephrase the question then. How many people have a savings account? Okay, and without disclosure, you don't have to raise your hand, but you know that in the minimum emergency fund for a savings account is $1,000? It's $1,000. That's the minimum, and that's a baby account. And if you have control to save $1,000, then you would be able to have control to be able to save more than that. It starts with that $1,000. So, what are some healthy spendings? habits. Who can give me a healthy spending habit? Not spending? Not necessarily, but go ahead.
Spending money ain't healthy.
Spending money is healthy.
Yes.
Not overspending.
Not overspending. Okay, so what are some healthy spending habits? Budgeting, yes. What else? Online baking. You want to work for us? We're looking for someone who would advertise. Anybody else? Back there? You guys are quiet. Nothing? Right? Oh my God. Healthy spending. See? What's bad spending? See? Everybody knows what bad spending is, but nobody knows what healthy spending. How about that? Investment. That's healthy spending. Right. Increasing your assets. You're absolutely correct. Those are all the healthy spending habits. What's the best way to spend your money? What's the easiest way to spend your money? Online. Amazon. Notice Amazon's stocks went up during the pandemic. Why is that?
You don't have to go out.
Right, you didn't have to go out. Were people in a good mental state?
No.
So people weren't in a good mental state. So what do you do when you're not in good mental state? Yes. You spend your money. You spend your money. So, ways to manage and reduce your debt more effectively. Take account of your accounts. What does that mean? Know what goes in and out of your accounts. How many people right now, right off the top of your head, can tell me what's automatically withdrawn out of your accounts? On a monthly basis. Bills, yeah. But how much? Do you know who, what, where, when, what date is coming out? I'm sure you do. Right. Those are all things that you have to know and you have to be able to take control of. Also, check your credit report. How many people check their credit report on an annual basis? Annual basis. Daily? Oh, through your apps? With credit card apps? Or Credit Karma, yeah. So, you know, there's a website called annualcreditreport.com. It gives you a free credit report every year for the 3 credit bureaus. Always on an annual basis, pull your credit report. On an annual basis, pull your credit report. My sister actually, who lives in Chicago right now, she's dealing with some fraud. She actually had to put LifeLock on there. It got so bad. She's paying for LifeLock, and they're still applying under her social security number. I get some of those letters to my house because she used to live at my house. One day I kept getting these letters, and I called her and I'm like, Miriam, what's going on? Like, do you need help? Why are you applying for all these credit cards? She's like, Hilda, it's not me. It's not me. I was like, how'd they get your information? She's like, I have no idea. But they're applying for credit cards and going shopping. One credit card they spent $16,000 on. And she called the credit card company and they held her responsible. So she had to hire a LifeLock. Yeah, protect your credit, protect your social security number. You can actually freeze your credit report. Do you know the advertisements that come in the mail that say free, pre-selected and pre-approved? You know they pull your credit report? They do? That's how they know you're pre-approved. The pre-selected, they have your information through third parties. But pre-approved, they pull your credit. They pull one of the credit bureaus, which is a soft hit. Yeah, because they did a soft hit on you. So you know when you go apply for a credit card, a lot of people don't know this, but when you go apply for a credit card, what happens is that there's a disclosure that comes with your application that says, and a lot of people don't pay attention to that paper, and that paper says, if you don't want us to sell your information to third-party creditors, fill this out. How many people fill that out? Right? Nobody. These are all information that we need to know. A lot of people don't know this. Every single seminar I've been to and I've talked at, they've been surprised by this information. Healthy spending. Look for opportunities to consolidate. Pay your lowest. When you get into that snowball effect of being in debt, gather all your debts, write them on a sheet of paper, from the lowest to the highest. Pay the minimum on your highest, and start paying down your debts by paying the lowest. I've had questions from people that tell me, well, Hilda, aren't you supposed to pay off the ones with the higher interest rate first? No, you're in that snowball effect. You're not gonna catch up. Pay off your smallest ones first. And then whatever you were paying on the smallest one, on the first one, now apply it to the second one. And then the same way you were going in reverse, you're gonna get yourself out of that. So if you were paying $100 on the first one until you paid it off completely, you're gonna take that $100 and you were paying $25 on the second, you're gonna take that second credit card and you're gonna pay $125 now. And you're gonna keep doing that until you get yourself out of debt. And once you get yourself out of debt, that's when your credit score will start to go up. A lot of people don't understand why their credit score is so low. It's because your debt to income ratio is high. They know how much money you make. They see how much credit cards you use. That's how the credit scoring system works. If you have a credit card that's $1,000 credit limit, why are you using $999 of it if you don't need money? Right, because you can. Swiping that card is so easy. That's so easy. Swiping the card is so easy. It's so easy. I've been there. I was a kid out of high school. My dad gave me the American Express Gold card. Right, I didn't know. So I was a kid who was in college, who needed the card, needed wheels, needed this, needed that. I ended up with a credit card that had over $6,000 on there, 33% interest. Had to pay it at the end of the month. Full balance. I was too scared to go to my dad. I was like, not going to my dad. Because if I go to my dad, guess what? I'm in trouble. He was paying for my college. That's another story. But I ended up ruining my credit. I started applying for credit cards, other credit cards, because I couldn't control my spending. I got in so much debt that I drowned it. It took me forever. In 1 year, I had accumulated on credit cards over $30,000 in debt. And I didn't know how to get out of it. I did not know how to get out of it. And I was working in a job, 2 part-time jobs, making nothing. Single mom. I didn't know what to do. And finally, I went and I had a talk with a counselor. Still didn't go to my dad because I was still scared. I ended up going to my counselor. My counselor said, well, first and foremost, you need to educate yourself on how to use your credit cards before you get yourself out of it, because the minute you get out of it, you're gonna go right back in it. And that's what I had to do. It took me 8 years to bring up my credit score. 8 years. Because those credit cards went to collections, interest started accumulating, fees started accumulating, and it was one thing after the other after the other. Because I did it. I was responsible for it. That's why. A lot of people told me to. A lot of people told me to, and I refused. I figured that was my lesson that I had to learn. And if I would have filed for bankruptcy, I wouldn't have learned my lesson. And now I know how to use my credit cards. Guaranteed. And I refuse. I have my credit reports locked, and I refuse to co-sign for anyone. after I fixed my credit, I started helping people fix their credit. I want to say about 95% of the people that had messed up credit were either due to mental health binge shopping or a family member screwed them over.
We call it mental health shopping.
Yes.
A lot of people binge shop when they're mentally depressed. A lot of people do it. Yeah, a lot of people, it's called impulses. Impulse shopping is a real problem. It's an issue. A lot of people do it. You'd be surprised. But I learned the hard way, and I learned how to control. Other ways, be honest about your spending. Oh, it's just $100 here. This is just $10. This is just $5. During COVID, I actually ended up, because we couldn't go anywhere, we were locked down, right? And so every weekend, if not twice a month, I would actually take my kids out to the movies and out to eat. It was our every other weekend thing with the kids. And so I decided I wanted to see, I never knew really how much I was spending on it because it was my time with the kids. I didn't want to track it. It was my time with the kids. So I decided during COVID, that money that I was gonna be spending every single weekend, we would pick a place that we would be normally going to, me and the kids, and I would put that money aside. Do you know how much money I saved? $6,700. $6,700 from movies to going out to eat to just in that 1 year of COVID. Thank you, COVID. And that's when I realized that those little pennies do count. That $50, oh, who cares? We're just going out to eat, family time, $50, it adds up. It really does add up. So now, what do I do differently? I make the kids pay. You guys want to go out? Sure. You guys are paying for it. So they know how much it costs. If they didn't pay for it, how would they know? And now my son is like, let's have movie night at home. Okay. You doing the popcorn? Yes, I am. Mom, we need to go to Costco. We're out of popcorn. Because we're going to Costco to get popcorn. We're not getting it from Kroger because it's more expensive at Kroger than Costco. Now they're financially aware. COVID made them financially aware. Financial education is a real thing. Saving, you start with $1,000. Baby steps. Baby steps. And that they say, normally if you talk to financial advisors, they say that you're supposed to have your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of reserves. 3 to 6 months of monthly bills is what it's supposed to be. How many of you guys can raise your hand to say that you have it?
Listen, I'm trying to make it to this one. Like, we're not even talking about next one.
That's a great statement. That's a great statement. Do you know why? Because why? Self-control. 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 Determine how much you have to pay. What are your monthly bills? Your monthly bills should not exceed 60% of your income. They should not, if your monthly bills are more than 60% of your income, then it's time for you to downsize. Downsize your car, downsize your house until you can make more money. Because saving is more important than having that fancy car or that fancy house or having that fancy apartment. Because if you're not able to save, one day will come where you can't afford that fancy car anymore and that fancy apartment. According to statistics, that we are about to have a financial crisis. We're bound to have one within the next 3 to 5 years. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Let's talk about guilt. and self-care. How many people feel guilty for spending money when you go out? Right. Normally you do. If you don't have a savings account, you usually do. Because you don't have a savings account. But you still do it anyway, right? Right? I did it. I'm still gonna go out. I don't have a savings account, but I'm still gonna go out. Ramit Sethi, how many people know who that is? Ramit Sethi. Yeah. He's a best-selling author, and he has taught thousands of people how to manage their personal finances and how to be rich. He says guilt-free spending is an additional line item in your budget to enjoy the things you love. And according to Sethi, your budget, which he refers to as a conscious spending plan, should include money you spend on yourself without shame or guilt. What the money is spent on depends on the person. And that could include trips to restaurants and bars, movies, spa treatment, shoes, clothing, travel, coffee, self-care. Those are all considered self-love. And self-care spending. And then he says, since it's your money, you get to choose how to spend it. Right? Emotional ties to spending. Yes. Yes. When you get older, you tend to learn to kind of not emotionally tie your spending, because you're like, okay, it's getting closer to retirement. I'm halfway there. I gotta slow down. But when you're younger, $33,000 in credit card. You spend like there's nothing. Right? Emotional spending is spending money during a period of heightened emotions like stress and sadness. A lot of people do it. A lot of people do it. It often results in buying items you don't really need or want. I have a brother who just paid $2,500 for tennis shoes. Yeah. And then he came over and didn't want to step on the grass with them. What? That's what shoes are for. Like, really? I can't get myself to spend that much money on a tennis shoes, even if I was a millionaire. I can't. He's crazy. I'll tell you guys. I'll say it to his face. It often results in buying items you don't really need, right? I don't think he needs the $2,700 shoes. Mm-mm. Mental health experts say this is a coping mechanism to avoid addressing difficult emotions, but there are many ways to deal with it. Guess what? He's going through a divorce. Yeah. Which is the reason why he found it so okay to pay $2,700 for a pair of J's. Right. Right. He felt the need that he wanted to prove it to himself, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what his reason was, but it wasn't my reason. It would never be my reason. This is guaranteed. Right. Not at all. 5 common emotional spending triggers that stem from 5 main emotions are jealousy, guilt, fear, sadness, or achievement. So whether you're happy or sad, you're spending at the end of the day. So if you can't control your emotions, you can't control a lot of things in life. What are some ways to have conscious spending plan? Or do some conscious spending? Wait. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Prioritize.
Plan it out. How many of you guys have a budget? I was just gonna say, a lot of people have a budget, but how many people follow the budget? Right. Right. I need this. How do people say, I want this? How about I need this? Yeah, that's part of your budget? That's phenomenal. That's impressive. Not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people do that. Pay more than the minimum. Pay more than once a month. Do you know that when you own a house, if you make one extra payment per year on a 30-year mortgage, that one extra payment will take 7 years off the life of your loan? So instead of paying off your mortgage in 30 years, you end up paying it in 23, just by making that one extra payment. Fact. Fact. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Because you're lowering your balances. They just changed the scoring. Now it's up to 900, the credit score. Right. I had a lady not too long ago, so we do mortgages, and I had a lady, her credit score was, I believe, 868. More power to her. I'm impressed. How do I do it? Right? Pay off your most expensive loan first. Consider the snowball method of paying off debt. Remember I said you start off with the little ones and go up? Shorten the length of your loan. Keep track of bills and pay them in less time. Consolidate multiple debts. A conscious spending plan focuses on dividing your income into 4 categories or buckets. Fixed costs, 50 to 60%, you guys. What's a fixed cost? Rent, bills, your electric bill, your water bill, your phone bill. Those are fixed costs. Investments. How many people have paid on investments? Nobody. Maybe 1 or 2 people in here, I bet you. 10%. Savings, 5 to 10%. Guilt-free spending. Believe it or not, it's 20 to 35%. And that's because, so you don't binge and you don't over-treat yourself. Once you give yourself that budget of 20 to 35%, then you don't over-treat yourself. This month I went on this thing, oh, pumpkin spice. Well, let me go to every coffee shop in the city. Every time there's a pumpkin spice, I drive by one, I'm like, pumpkin spice, I love it. I just looked at my bank statement. Bad pumpkin spice. Bad pumpkin spice. I spent $680 in the past month on pumpkin spice lattes. Yes. Starbucks is $10. Right. Right. And here I am thinking, oh, points. Yes, my points are getting higher. I get a free one. I got 2 free ones throughout the whole month. Right? But they got $680 on the other end. Yeah, it adds up. And here I was thinking, oh, it's just $10. It's just $5 at Tim Hortons. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts, don't forget them. Right. They all have pumpkin spice. They all know how to entice me. They lure me in. But guess what? Not again. I promise. I'm over my pumpkin spice. Apple orchards it is. Apple cider. Apple cider. Right.